Amitabh Kant, Chief Executive of Niti Aayog, Mr. Harshvardhan Neotia, the President of Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, and the Chairman of the Ambuja Neotia Group, Mr. Dr. Didar Singh, the Secretary General of FICCI, Mr. Pierre de Bosset, the President and MD of Airbus India Private Limited, Mr. Patil, the member on the board of Larsen & Toubro Heavy Engineering and Shipbuilding, former Chief of the Naval Staff, Admiral Suresh Mehta, Vice Chief of Naval Staff, Air Marshal Bhosle, former Commanders-in-Chief, flag officers, senior officers from the Army and the Air Force, representatives from the Ministry of Defense, captains of industry, participants in the seminar from India and abroad, the chairman and managing directors of our shipyards, distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a distinct honor and a proud privilege for me to be present here today for the joint seminar organized by FICCI and the Indian Navy on Make in India paradigm and roadmap for a future Indian Navy. I would like to say that this seminar is being held at a very opportune moment when the entire country is giving the impetus to the Honorable Prime Minister's vision of Make in India, Skill India, Digital India, Startup and Stand Up India. And I'm sure that the deliberations and discussions during the seminar will bring out some very tangible suggestions and chart the way ahead to have a resurgent Indian Navy in all aspects of Make in India, whether it's the aviation sector, shipbuilding, submarine building, and indeed come up with innovative and indigenization ventures which will lead us to the Indian Navy of the next century. The earliest recorded warship building in India can be taken back to nearly 5,000 years ago during the Indus Valley civilization, which existed in the western part of this country in 3,300 BC. Even today, we have a dry dock at Lothal in Gujarat, which dates back to 2200 BC. And it is from these small ports that seafarers sailed out in ships built in India to distant lands like Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt, and east coast of Africa. On the east coast of India, the seafaring nations of the Kalingas, the Cholas, and the southern Indian empires of the Cheras and the Pandyas also sailed out in ships built in India to distant lands in Southeast Asia. And even today, we can see glimpses of India's cultural and maritime heritage in these countries. During the British period, we had a glorious period of shipbuilding and warship building because the British found the unique combination of the Malabar teak of the west coast of India and the skills of the shipbuilders of Gujarat and started building ships at Bombay Docks, which is the location of the naval dockyard at Mumbai today. The Treaty of Nanking, ceding Hong Kong to the British, was signed on board HMS Cornwallis, a ship built in Bombay Docks. The national anthem of United States of America, the Star-Spangled Banner, was written by Francis Key in Baltimore on board a ship, HMS Minden. And that ship, HMS Minden, ladies and gentlemen, was built in India. The oldest warship afloat in the world today, HMS Trincomalee, which is afloat in Hartlepool in UK, was built nearly 200 years ago in 1817 in Bombay Docks and was also a ship made in India. With this glorious shipbuilding era that we had, regrettably, when the transition took place from sail to steam and wood to steel, we got left behind because India was not part of the Industrial Revolution. But soon after independence, the Navy was quick off the mark. And our first perspective plan paper for a self-reliant and indigenous Navy was written in 1948, just 1 year after independence. With an eye on ship construction, we inducted naval architects into the Navy in 1953. We partnered with the DRDO in the early 50s, and 2 of the DRDO laboratories were actually located within naval premises at the Naval Dockyard at Mumbai and at Kochi. Our first indigenous warship, INS Ajay, was built at Garden Reach in 1961. We set up our own Naval Design Directorate in 1964. So it's been an aspect related to the vision of the people who headed the Navy at that point in time, and that is the reason why over the last 50 years, our naval designers have designed and our shipyards have built ships in India. Nearly 300 warships have been built of all shapes and sizes in our Indian shipyards. Today, we have made the transformation, as was brought out by Mr. Amitabh Kant, from a buyer's Navy to a builder's Navy, and more importantly, to a designer's Navy. And I'm sure that it makes everybody here proud to learn that all our 46 ships and submarines under construction are being built in Indian shipyards, both public and private. But this, ladies and gentlemen, is only scratching the surface, because the Maritime Capability Perspective Plan of the Indian Navy up to the year 2027, all our ships and submarines are intended to be built in India. And there is a whole amount of scope for the public and the private sector to ensure that we get in the cutting edge of technology and make sure that ships and submarines built in India are among the best in the world. We also have given focus to the aspect related to indigenization in the aviation section, because currently the Indian Navy has 224 aircraft and helicopters, and the naval aviation is on the threshold of a transformation, because future aircraft and helicopters will be made in India in collaboration. And that's a huge range of opportunity for the public and private sector to ensure that the technologies in the aviation sector are also the best in the world. We've also had the aspect related to analyzing the extent of indigenization in our ships and submarines. As you're all aware, warships can be broadly divided into 3 major components: the float, the move, and the fight component. In the float component, which comprises the structures of the ship, we have achieved nearly 90% indigenization. This is because warship-grade steel has been developed by DRDO and has been manufactured in country. It would make every Indian very proud to learn that our first aircraft carrier, Vikrant, under construction at Kochi, is being built with Indian steel. In the move component, which comprises the propulsion machinery, the auxiliary machinery, we have achieved about 60% indigenization. But there is a huge, huge opportunity for indigenization and partnering with the public and the private sector, because the main gas turbines are yet to be built in India, and I think this is a huge opportunity, both for the main propulsion as well as the auxiliary propulsion and the generators. As far as the fight component is concerned, this comprises weapons and sensors, and I think this is the focus of our attention. While we have made the medium-range guns, the close-range and anti-aircraft guns, the torpedo launchers, the rocket launchers, communication systems, electronic warfare systems, combat management systems are all being made in India today, yet there is a huge, huge opportunity, because this is the aspect of cutting edge of technology that Mr. Amitabh Kant talked about. And this can only come when we get the best in the world. And we would like the best in the world to partner with the Indian industry so that future aspects related to weapons and sensors are also made within the country. We have the aspect related to the Indian Ocean itself, which has emerged as the world's center of gravity in the maritime domain today. There are huge challenges in the maritime domain, and the Indian Navy needs to be a multi-dimensional network force which is combat ready to take on any challenges. As a maritime nation, we have vast maritime interests. And these maritime interests, whether it's the trade, of which, as you heard, 90% flows by sea, whether it's our shipbuilding industry, whether it's our shipyards, whether it's our ports and harbors, whether it's the fishing sector, whether it's our coastline, the EEZ, or our island territories, all are important because these maritime interests have a vital relationship with the nation's economic growth. And it is the responsibility of the Indian Navy to ensure that these are protected at all times. It has been clearly understood and brought out that there is a need for Make in India. But what we need to do during this seminar is to work out as to how this is to be accomplished. There have been great initiatives which have been taken in the recent past to consolidate. The Navy has outlined its science and technology roadmap for the next 15 years and shared it and discussed this with the DRDO. We have clearly outlined nearly 100 technologies which over the next 15 years need to be absorbed into our ships and submarines. We have also outlined our indigenization plan for the Indian Navy for the next 15 years and shared it with the industry. In the DPP 16, we have a category which has been given the topmost priority, which is of indigenously designed, developed, and manufactured category. And I think with all these initiatives, including R&D, which the Indian Navy supports for the MSMEs, there is an opportunity where we need to partner together. And during the course of the seminar, we need to come up with the answers as to why Make in India is important, and we all agree that it needs to be implemented. How is this to be achieved? Who is to take the initiative? And by when is this initiative to be? I would therefore request all those who are chairing various sessions to please make sure that we get some very concrete and tangible recommendations as to how this transition and transformation of Make in India is to be made in the maritime sector, which includes aspects related to aviation, to building of ships and submarines. The environment which has been created in the country by the vision of the Honorable Prime Minister, it is evident that India is turning to the seas once again. And I think we are on a steady course to emerge as a resurgent maritime nation. I am confident that this seminar will bring out some tangible recommendations so that we can ensure that future warships and submarines can be 100% made in India. Thank you, and Jai Hind.